and welcome back to Summoners Weekly. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai's legend ability is extremely aggro specific, so when you conquer, you can exhaust the Rek'Sai legend and reveal the top two cards of your deck, and you can play one of them and then recycle the rest. So think about this. If you're in the middle of basically you're conquering a battlefield or conquering two battlefields, you can tap Rek'Sai at any point and then you reveal the top two cards and you have the option to play them. So two things here. Not only are you playing an aggressive deck, but you have to be really cognizant of what you're actually playing and what's in your deck. So in this video, we're going to talk about some of the key units and key spells that are going to be basically the most important when you're playing Rek'Sai. The most important meta is your local meta. Remember, tournament decks like Draven are extremely specific in what they're supposed to do. And yes, I'm not saying you're not going to play against Draven in your local meta, but think about this. I believe every legend has an equal opportunity to fight against other legends. Even though someone may be playing Draven, if they're not used to the removal or the playstyle that you're playing, I think everyone has a fair shot. Now, of course, Draven is a little bit more, optimized, but I think Rek'Sai also has the ability to be one of the best aggro decks in the current meta. Let's move on to the cards that you're going to want to kind of keep an eye out for when you're going to be tapping the legend ability to then play that turn. So when playing Rek'Sai, there's a couple things in your deck that are extremely important, one of which is the removal that you're playing. And there's really three main removal spells in your deck, one of which is everyone's favorite, Hidden Blade. Super straightforward, 2 energy, 1 power cost, and basically you're killing a unit at a battlefield and that controller pays 2. Now the cool thing is that this is an action speed, you can hide it, so if you wanted to hide it at the battlefield and reveal it when an action or showdown occurs, then you could do that, right? But I think also the unique ways that people have learned how to play Hidden Blade is by casting it on their units, like a Soaring Scout to go ahead and channel a Ruin Exhausted, to really kind of play around with the ability of Hidden Blade. But I think in this case, Hidden Blade is just an extremely efficient removal tool in the order domain. Next is Cull the Weak. This couldn't get any more simple. For the exact same cost as Hidden Blade, each player is going to kill a unit. And for some decks, like if you're playing against beefier, mightier decks that really only play 1 to 3 like might creatures early on, or 1 to 3 like large might creatures early on in the game, Cull the Weak can definitely force an opponent to have to decide what they'd like to keep and strategize with going forward. And in a lot of decks, especially like Victor, right, like you can sack a recruit and that's an easy Cull the Weak target. However, in Rek'Sai, there are going to be some things that are going to be a little bit different, right? So all your units you kind of want to keep alive because you do have access to some really powerful ones, but some of the more wimpier units I think are going to be your targets for Cull the Weak when you're going to be using it. Next is Cleave. Also, in Cull the Weak, if you don't have a unit, you don't got to kill nothing. So, when you play Cull the Weak, you definitely kind of get that one of the best removal tools in the order domain. Next is Cleave, though. Cleave has been a Fury staple for a while, and in combination with Darius, we know that Cleave can really win a combat or be a decisive winner of a combat. It takes a lot for an opponent to either want to commit a defy or to beef up one of their units to counter your 1 cost spell here. And with Cleave giving Assault and that +3 might, it's just an extremely efficient removal tool for when you got to really kind of combat trick your opponent out of a battlefield that may already own. Next, let's talk about some of the units you're going to be playing in Rek'Sai. So one of which is Eager Drakehound. This is a pretty straightforward 3 cost 1 power, and you get a 3 might unit that comes in ready. And this just lends itself to an extremely efficient aggro playstyle, right? Because remember, when you're conquering, you get the option to exhaust your Rek'Sai legend, reveal the top 2, and then ideally, by doing that, you get yourself into a Darius. And remember, when you play your second card for this turn, you give Darius +2 and you ready Darius. So think about this. You play the Drakehound, you conquer with the Drakehound, you flip over from your deck, and then you reveal a Darius. Not only does he enter ready because he's the second card, but he's already got the +2 might, so you're dealing with a 7 cost unit on the field that can really cause a lot of issues for your opponent, especially in that mid game. Next is a new card from Spirit Forged, and that's going to be Under Titan. And Under Titan is pretty straightforward, so when you play Under Titan, you give your other units +2 might. And when you reveal Under Titan from your deck, you're adding 2 to like your rune pool. And so with that, you can get cheaper units. Or you can play Under Titan for just 2 more, I believe, power less. I'm not sure if it's power or energy, sorry. That's probably something I should know. Anyways, so these are just some of the new tools that you know, Rek'Sai gets access to, and some of the current ones that are really going to kind of shine in the Rek'Sai playstyle. Next, let's talk about Rek'Sai's Chosen Champions and Rek'Sai's signature spell. And so Void Rush is really interesting because all of Rek'Sai's Chosen Champions and Rek'Sai's signature spell involve revealing cards in a certain way. So Rek'Sai's signature spell, Void Rush, allows you to reveal 2 cards from your main deck, and you can play one of them, reducing its cost by 2. Then you draw any that you didn't play this way. This is really interesting. So Void Rush basically allows you to then again reveal 2 more cards from the top of your main deck. You're reducing the cost, so if you get, let's say, a Darius, right? Your Darius is now only 3, you know, it only costs 3 to play. And not only that, but let's say you draw a Darius and then a combat trick like a cleave, that you just draw and you pay the 1 extra, you know, cost for that cleave, and you're instantly ready. You're able to conquer a battlefield with that. I believe it's what, 8 might total, or 2 might, 7 might total, and then you're able to conquer the battlefield. So let's talk about the Order Domain Rek'Sai Champion unit. So when you attack with this version of Rek'Sai here in the middle, you reveal the top 2 cards in your main deck, you can play one, you recycle the other one, but that played card, rather than you having to play that at your base, you can play it directly with the Rek'Sai, further solidifying your control of that battlefield. Next, let's talk about Rek'Sai's Fury Domain Champion, which is Rek'Sai Breacher. Rek'Sai Breacher's got a couple different things going on here. So for the 3 cost, you get a 3 might Rek'Sai. Rek'Sai has the ability to accelerate for 1 recycle of a rune and then 1 extra cost. Rek'Sai also gets Assault 1, and so with that Assault 1, you're actually, when you attack with this version of Rek'Sai, you're actually a 4 might unit, and then friendly units played anywhere other than your hand get Accelerate, which means you can pay that cost, and then you're instantly going in to attack open battlefields. Again, Rek'Sai lends herself to an extremely aggressive playstyle, especially during that mid-game kind of like crunch. So it's going to be interesting to see as decks progress and as people unlock further Rek'Sai meta. Let's look at Rek'Sai Breacher for a second, because Rek'Sai Breacher, I think, it deserves a little bit of time in the spotlight. So let's talk about some combinations that you can play with Rek'Sai Breacher. So you're playing Rek'Sai Breacher, you can choose to accelerate it or not. So in a lot of cases, unless you need to conquer that battlefield, you can just play Rek'Sai Breacher on the field and then ready at the next turn. Again, Rek'Sai Breacher is going to get that +1 might when Rek'Sai, you know, attacks. Not only that though, friendly units that are played anywhere else have Accelerate. So with Void Rush, the other version of Rek'Sai, and with your Legend ability, you basically have the ability to potentially play up to 4 cards, reveal 4 cards that turn. If you conquer with this Rek'Sai with Accelerate, you tap your Legend ability, you reveal 2 cards, and then you play Void Rush, right? That's 2 more cards. That's 4 cards from your 40 card deck, which is actually less because you've drawn 4 already, and depending on what turn you're doing this, you know, you can really draw into the things that you're looking for and really kind of like have this really fun play style, like revealing and lottery style, like gameplay that Rek'Sai lends herself to. Also, I just want to take a minute to admire the art in the Chosen Champion for Rek'Sai Breacher is just so sick. Like, just look at that. Both versions of the art are just freaking awesome. And so my best advice is, if you're looking for a Rek'Sai deck, here on the screen here is just an example Rek'Sai deck playing Void Rush, the Order Domain Rek'Sai, with that removal that we talked about earlier, as well as the Darius, with a sideboard of Karma, Thermo Beam, and the 3 different battlefields you're going to be playing. You know, I think Reaver's Row, Candlelight Sanctum are really kind of going to be staples in the Rek'Sai playstyle. An even split of your runes are probably going to be what's recommended as well. But again, this deck list is just an example of how you could play Rek'Sai. So, you know, think about this. The first couple weeks of Spiritforge meta are going to be so, I think they're going to be lawless, right? We're going to have the Draven players who just optimize a Draven deck, and they're just going to say, this is my winnable deck because it's been unlocked. But I think once people start experimenting with other legends like Rek'Sai and our previous legend that we did a guide on, which was Ezreal, like, I think there's going to be a lot more variety in the local meta, to be honest. So Let me know down below what you think about this video. Are you going to be playing Rek'Sai come Spirit Forge release? I think Rek'Sai's like Overnumber is just so beautiful. And I remember Rek'Sai was one of those champions or legends in League that when Rek'Sai came out, she was like stupid broken for a while. And like being able to burrow and really catch your opponents off guard. I think they've translated, the Riftbound team's translated the legend within the game into Riftbound like really well. So I'm excited. I may not be playing Rek'Sai personally. I think I'm going to lend myself more towards Ezreal, but hey, you know what? If you're a Rek'Sai lover, or if you love big creepy creatures that are going to be burrowing and causing a bunch of havoc, Rek'Sai is probably going to be your legend. Anyways, this was JD with Summoners Weekly. We hope you enjoyed this video. Let us know down below if you liked it, if you didn't like it, what you think. If you're going to be playing Rek'Sai, how are you going to be running Rek'Sai? Let us know down below because others are going to want to know. And let's, help each other become the best Riftbound players we can. We'll catch you later. Peace.